asking to yourself, what is my purpose? What should I do right now? What giving me value right now? And that's starting the process of finding the new things that you need to build the new you, instead of just holding into something that is no longer applied. It's the ability to letting go who you were, to welcoming the new you, and open up yourself to a lot of possibilities that is coming with the new life.
You have to gain the ability to be uncomfortable. You're not going to grow in comfort, and you're not going to create a successful transition if you want to stay in your comfort zone. It won't work. Hey beautiful people, it's Vivien Roggero, and I want to thank you, and please thank yourself for being here. Before we go into this episode, I invite you to join this channel to hear more episodes that will help you create a more meaningful life full of freedom, purpose, and deep, true relationships. All I want you to do is click on the subscribe button. I love your support, and I can't wait to go on this journey of discovery with you. Thank you for subscribing. It means the world to me. Welcome to the One Freedom Formula, Rezki, my wife.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Again. So on the first episode, we were speaking about, freedom in marriage. Yeah. Today, let's speak about transition, freedom in transition. So we had a lot of different transitions. You being my girlfriend or my wife, you living in Indonesia, me being in Taiwan, and now you being in Taiwan with me. We had also, us both working, and know your, let's say, housewife.
Yeah.
You're taking some sabbatical while I'm working fully. So in all those transitions, which one do you want to start the topic today?
I think we choose this topic because I think this is the most relevant topic for what applied to us right now. And for me, this is really a theme that has been going around my head for the last couple months, maybe half a year. Last time we spoke here, it's I think like 8 months ago. So things are going so fast. And I remember in our first podcast, we're speaking about, how it feels to transition from my single life to my marriage life. And even after that, I realized there are so many layers beneath that need to be open and being processed. So I think this is why we have this topic today, to unreveal what happened under the transition. And I think the most challenging thing about transition is that I need to let it go.
Letting go.
Let it go. So
yeah, that has been a topic, huh?
Yes. And I mean, I hope for some people who have the same experience like us, transition is not only about, living a new life, but also leaving something behind that is more familiar to them. And for me, it's obviously, I never lived outside my country before. Not like you. You've been around the world before. For me, when the first time the idea come up, it's the most makes sense. I mean, we're going to get married. You live in Taiwan. Your son is here. You'll build the life here. And I said, okay, I think I'm finished with everything I want to achieve in Indonesia. Let's go. But then I arrive here, and there are so many different things that I need to overcome at the same time. But the hardest part is realizing, where am I right now? Because most part of me still left behind and expecting things to be the same like what I have in Indonesia. So that's when my personality faced a challenge where I need to redefine who I am. And that's when the freedom comes. Where is the freedom on the transition?
Yeah, so as you said, I've done that several times. Germany, Indonesia, Taiwan 2 times. So it's not my first time in Taiwan. And clearly, transitioning from one country and another, especially when you don't speak the language, is one of the hardest part. I always tell people that want to do that, the first 6 months are critical. They are the make and break. If you have support, you can pass that period. If you're alone, you have to gain support and foothold in that place. But like every one of my transitions have been places where I don't speak the language. Like Germany, I don't speak German. I didn't speak German. I speak some words now, but I basically say hi and can order stuff, and that's all. Indonesia, when I arrived, I didn't speak any language, any Indonesian. I would barely speak it nowadays. Chinese, when I arrived in Taiwan, so it was 12 years ago, the first time I came to Taiwan. I was not speaking Mandarin at all, and I studied for 6 months. And now I am able to pass my daily life with speaking. Writing and reading has been forgotten and a challenge, let's say that way. I've not focused on that. But yeah, clearly, when you arrive, you have so many barriers of entry that you don't feel free. It's not like when you're in holiday. Oh, it's a new country. I'm in holiday. I'm free.
Yes.
That's a different feeling. There you have to build a home. You have to build a life. When you're in holiday, it's just there temporarily. It's just a temporary thing, a passing thing. So you're like, it's okay. I'm not. It's not perfect. I don't understand everything. It's fine. And that's also one of the challenges in terms of freedom when you transition to that kind of things is if it's holiday, you're free because you don't have to build. If it's you coming to a place where you need to build a life, that's where the challenge become because you're struggling. Let's say that way. People are struggling, and you were struggling at the start a lot. Yeah. And that was fair. And I told you before you come, you will struggle at the start. This is normal. This is part of the process. Because we, as you say, we attach to that identity of what we were in that other country and how we lived in that other country. And then we shift to a place which is different. The life is different. The food is different. The language is different. The people are different. And so sticking to that identity of who I was is what breaks your freedom. And switching to this new identity of exploration and discovery is where you, at least where I found that freedom was the most permanent. Like,
Is it?
Yeah, it is actually, for me at least. I always consider new people, new places, new thing, new exploration as new discoveries and new learning. I'm a creature of habit. We both know that. Like if you make me do something that is not in my habits, then I will feel uncomfortable. But at the same time, I know that this uncomfortableness means that I'm doing something that makes me grow in another part. So I find freedom in that uncomfortableness.
Yeah. And I think that's your, your strength in terms of adjusting to new environment. And for you, it's just something that you need to growing into something, something else, and then rather than keeping yourself. And I really like the way you put it as the terms of the, let me quote that, tourist mentality. And I think it's not only applied to the case where we live, we're changing location and living in another country, but also I think it's also applied to the other circumstances that we're kind of hoping that we have a different mentality, whether it's temporary or it's long term. And I really like for one of our discussion that I'm telling you that they're supposed to be changing in terms of mindset and not putting yourself in a limiting situation where we need to be adjusting very fast. But instead, if you are taking the tourist mentality, you will see everything differently. Like, it's okay. I don't read anything. I don't understand anything. I don't speak to the people because I just want to enjoy my time here. And because of that tourist mentality, we kind of start seeing things differently and just take it all in and just realizing where we are right now and what it means to be here, understanding our presence here. And that's kind of opened a new gateway to a new life that you're supposed to building there. And I mean, living here for 1.5 years now, maybe almost 2 years, it's still difficult for me to see myself as a tourist because hey, I live here, I have a home, I have a family here. But then when I go out, I wish I had that mentality so that I can just speak to people, even though just smile to people, open up to them. You remember my pin?
Yes.
Yeah, the one that is saying, I don't speak Mandarin. Yeah. And that's in one of my therapy session. It's saying that it made me realize that it's not only limiting myself, but it also like boundaries where I put to people, like, don't speak to me. I don't speak Mandarin. So I understand that I start to take it off and just like, okay, fine. If people want to speak Mandarin to me, I'm open to it. It's still awkward for me until now, but I'm kind of hoping that by doing that, it's opened my heart and my mind a little bit to start putting myself into reality that I am living in Taiwan right now.
Yeah, I think one of the things that every place I have been as an expat, I have realized there is two types really of expatriations. And there is a joke about that in Indonesia because there is this small compound of houses that is called the French village, that Asterix, like the Gaulois, the village of Gaulois. This place is only with French people. And they all stay and stick together. And a lot of them have not really integrated in any way of shape or form into the Indonesian society in Jakarta. They do their thing. They go from expat places to expat restaurant to expat places. They do things on the weekend. A lot of them have been living like this. And then there is the ones that, a bit like me, are like, okay, I am here, so let's discover and learn what the country is about, what the food and everything. And I can't eat some of the food in Indonesia because it's too spicy and I'm not a spicy person. But at the same time, it is clear that everywhere I've traveled, I have found beautiful and interesting things. Like, for example, when I lived in Germany, I loved the culture in Berlin. I love the heart, the openness, the warmth, even like by minus 15 or 20 in the winter, But the city was interesting. The food, not my taste, not that great for me. In Indonesia, well, we both love Bali and we both try to go there regularly and spend our time a bit there. But I love the Balinese culture. The Hinduism culture part of it. I also love the people. We have a lot of friends in Jakarta. It's always a pleasure to be there. And then here in Taiwan, well, I have my son, which is one thing. Our son is here. It's like, our anchor. But at the same time, there is a lot of good food. There is a lot of beautiful places that we still haven't explored. Yeah. There is so much we need to do more. And there is no one country where there is nothing to discover, where there is nothing interesting. That doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I've never found it. And I've traveled, as you said, I've traveled a lot because first time I took a plane, I was like 8 months old. And last year took like 24 planes in 1 year.
Yeah.
So
too much.
too much, but I've been traveling a lot. And maybe that's also part of why for me this is freedom, because I have been used to travel since and travel alone, because the first flights I took alone I was 6 years old. So yeah, 6 years old. So I've been able to travel. I have the luxury to travel and travel alone since I'm really young. So for me, it was always a pleasure to travel. Always something new, something discovering. But for you, your first flight, international flight, was like what, 21 years old?
Yeah. No, maybe 24 even.
24.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might be also why I see the world differently.
Yeah.
Is because for me, travel has always been part of my life and part of my freedom. My freedom to be all around the world and discover new things.
Yeah. I think that's very important to have experience that open your mind and your eyes. And for me, it's a little bit we have a different life. I mean, and when I think about it, I didn't even dare to dream to see outside of Indonesia at that time because of many circumstances. And the first time I see the world outside, the first time I hold my passport, I only imagine if I go out of my country as a tourist. I never imagined I would live somewhere else. And it's coming from my personal belief that maybe I don't deserve that. There is a certain personality that I already built that I acknowledge and really hold dear to my heart, that no, that's not me. This is me. Like I'm okay with this. I always been an ambitious person, but as far as I'm, create my ambition, it will be like, okay, being a rich person, living in Jakarta, having pool at the backyard,
Made.
something like that. But never imagine that I would be outside of the country and start building life with foreigner. that never crossed my mind. I didn't know that. So I think the big part of the transition also recognizing who you were. And for me, the process of start living my old self and building my new self is a long journey process that has been going on even before I met you. Maybe that's why I met you, because like, okay, I think I'm ready now. But before that, I used to believe that no, I don't deserve so many things. Like I am not good enough for that. I'm okay with this. I feel comfortable with what I have that time. And you know me, like I already live alone, starting from college, even though it's like only 1 hour away from my home. But then after that, I start living independently and by myself, and start building my own life, my own belief, my own culture, my own habit, separated from the one that my parents had taught me. And during that time, I realized there are so many skills that I built based on survival mode. That I think that's also important to be in the context where we're speaking about transition, because it was building who I was, and the survival mode has made me very how can I say that, like very stiff, very strong, but like building an armor for myself,
like a tree.
Why?
Like a tree, because a tree is like, it's strong, it's standing, but it's not flexible.
Yeah.
Well, the bamboo, we always use this image, like the bamboo is flexible with the wind. You're more like the tree and I'm more like the bamboo.
Even more, I mean, tree is still nice. I built my own fort, And I remember like having a lot of sessions therapy about that. I didn't realize that that's who I was, that I built that time, until I start sabotaging my life, and put myself away from the possibility of changing. So like every single thing that coming into my life, I was like, no, this is not the course that I wanted. And apparently is not because I just simply don't want it, but I don't think I'm ready for it. I don't think I'm good enough for it. And I remember back then, discussion with myself then become very important, because I realized, when you talk to yourself and you have a separate different opinion, like and you start having debate within yourself, that's when I like, okay, I think it's time. I think it's time, girls. Like, I don't know how many Rezki inside there, but like, I think it's time to allowing ourselves to open up to a new idea of who you are that time.
And I think that's a big part of transition, because if we look at all the transitions, so girlfriend to wives, long distance relationship to being here with me, marketing director to where you are now, it's like that's a lot of transition. That's a lot of version of you.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I have encountered a lot since I'm young is different version of myself.
Yes.
Because I've changed school, I've changed place, I've traveled the world, I have done different type of studies, I've changed jobs in terms not only just job, but positions and type of job that I have done. My father was great at that. When I was younger and I would go to Saint-Tropez to visit him, he would every year find me a new job, which was different from the one of the year before. And so I've experienced everything, like selling kebab, driving boats, helping customers, sell boats, sell balloon on the port. I've worked at McDonald's, I've worked in IT companies, I've been executive leaders. I've been so many things in my life that I'm really, really comfortable when there is this winter of change. When there is something that needs to change, for me, it's much easier than if I didn't add all those experiences. Because I know for a fact, because I've done it, I know for a fact that I can change entirely when it's needed.
No.
Like when I became a coach, that was completely different from being an executive in IT, like completely different. But at the same time, for me, that was still me, just a different version, a different journey of me. And, when we speak about freedom in transition, I think that's one of the key things, is to be able to have that shift of the mindset, saying that, okay, I was there, now I want to go there. That means I need to change me.
Yeah.
To change that vision I have of me, and to change that reality of me. And so that's one of the challenges that a lot of people don't really handle well. It is, how do I change who I am? Because they think that who they are is fixed.
Yeah. Attached to something.
Attached to a reality.
Yes. And I mean, in when we speak about that, it has been a very long time in my life where I put my identity in my career. Because I coming from a family with average economy, and I promised myself that I will be successful. I will be able to buy whatever I want to buy, and furthermore, I will help my family. Like, I'm the one who's gonna be their backbone, and I did. So I was thank you. And I have that mentality in my mind that I have to be success. I cannot have failure. So I avoid anything that coming my way that may come with a chance of failure. So everything that happened to me between 20, how old was I when I started? Maybe 23 years old. 22 years old maybe, when I start first my career, and then going on. And in my mind, I just have to achieve that level of successful with certain title, with certain money, with certain privilege that coming with it. And I remember I started in Jakarta taking a bus to my office, and just staying late for a bit more, couple hours, just to have a more bucks, just to have a bare minimum payroll. And then going forward, like I'm having privilege, to be a marketing director in a very very nice company, and then it's gone, and then it's stopped. So it's in my life, I think I have a very difficult moment when I was like 25 to 29 years old. And that time I was suicidal, and well, the story. And then even in that lowest moment in my life, I feel like it's okay, I still have my job. Like as if that job is like a huge part of me.
Defining you even.
Define me. Like it's okay. It's okay. Like in personally, I may be, a bit screw up here and there, a bit sad, but it's okay. I still have the title. I still have the money. So I start putting myself most on that side rather than build who I am without it. So for a very long time, it has been identity that I keep very close to my heart, very close to myself. And it's very difficult for me when eventually I have to realize that it cannot be the same anymore. And I think that's a great opportunity that God given to me. Okay, this is the time. Like you don't need that identity anymore. So why don't you just let it go and try to build something new? Like when I realized that it's not possible anymore to work remotely, which just break my heart, because I was good in it. I was good in what I'm doing. But it's difficult because of the distance. We live in Taiwan. The company is in Jakarta and serve Indonesia. And it's just not make sense anymore to work remotely for the company. I realized that it's not fair for the team as well. So I think, okay, this is the time where I need to reconsider the choice that I've been made for myself regarding the title and the money that coming with it. So yes, here I am trying to adjust to the new role as a housewife, like you said, and it's quite challenging. So I'm just want to applaud women out there that making that decision.
Yeah, yes, and who knows what's next after that? Because as we said, right now you're doing this, but before you were doing that, and tomorrow, what will you do? And I think that's also a big part of freedom, is to realize we are not fixed into one thing. Like you were not a marketing director. You were just temporarily in a position of something. And a lot of people, when they lose a job right now, go into panic mode and everything. And it's difficult. It is hard to lose a job. But yes, a lot of people are going into panic mode, not only because they lose a job, but because the job is their identity. And as soon as you realize that, those things are not your identity, even the location where you are, the children you have, the job that you have, all of that is not your identity. It is a part of who you are at that moment in time, but it is not who you are.
Yeah. That's when we attach ourselves too much into something that more like a role, not an identity. You need to realize that everything is temporary. And that's a very hard truth, to swallow for people. Because sometimes whether it's our decision or not, it can be loose any time of the day. And then when you start from zero again, and then you forced to be sit back and relook your life differently. And then that's when you're asking to yourself, what is my purpose? What should I do right now? What giving me value right now? And that's starting the process of finding the new things that you need to build the new you, instead of just holding into something that is no longer applied.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the new you, then one of the things that happened in the last months is, in the last 11 months, 10 months, we know our own parents, so we all we have a dog.
We are full parents.
And it's actually changed a lot of things because you have to take care of that little furry baby. And we had her at a puppy, so we started from the bottom of everything. And she's growing, she's soon 1 year old. And if you look at it, you have to be there 3 times a day to feed her. You have to take her out 3 times a day. You have to be sure that she goes to the vet, she has a medicine, so it's a lot of constraints that you're adding to your life.
Yeah.
And that's another transition from, a life of just the two of us being quite free to the life of, the two of us plus our son. And then now we have, another one. So we are like, yes,
we have new
our son plus
yeah.
our dog. And even in that transition, like, let's be honest, I have to wake up every morning, take her out. I have to go out every night to take her out. But I find a lot of freedom into that walk every day. I find a lot of rest mentally. And those time that I have to take with her, if she was not there, I'm not sure I would actually prioritize that compared to the work that I'm currently doing or the book that I'm writing. But having this obligation of taking it doesn't make it less of a freedom for myself.
Yeah. You make a very good point where when you seeing some transition, you would want to see yourself at the center of everything. But then when you see something else and you have things that you need to be priority more than who you are, and it's about giving yourself to others, to serving others, then it become more make sense. And for me, like making purpose is not only about you, it's also about what you may you can give to your surrounding. And our decision to have Easy, her name is Easy, is coming from that part of us where we feel like, okay, we're ready, we have some love to be shared, and we want to build our family, and it's starting with us and your son, and then our son and Easy, and it growing into some bigger part of life that for me touched me very personally. I start seeing Taiwan differently, and that. And it's really amazing to see that when you stop putting yourself first, then it become easier, because you want to love something else other than you. You want to serve, you want to taking care of, and it's not about you anymore. Then the purpose is coming by itself. And I feel Easy is represent of my life in Taiwan, and how for her life is only about us. Same like me. Like for me, my life is only about you and Easy now, because since I don't have NIL, of course, since I don't have the other title anymore, the other role anymore. And I think it's very opened my heart, my eyes, my mind into something new, the new me that I am adjusting myself into, and big part of this transition.
Yeah, I think that's to summarize all of that is I think it's not about focusing on someone else. It is to stop focusing on who you think you are, and just be open to the world around you,
the possibilities coming with it.
And is one of them. When you open yourself, you have a new thing coming, you have more love, you have a different views. And then the same for the country. If you open yourself to the country, then you have a lot of things to explore, a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to know. So that's what I've seen for me, is the more I accept that there is a lot of things around that I cannot control, but I'm open to them coming and going, the more it is easy for me to transition.
Yeah.
And to have freedom in that transition, because then I don't lock myself into that state of everything is bad, or I don't like the food, or I don't like the place, or I don't like this, or there is earthquakes. Let's say that
Earthquakes, like a lot of action.
Taiwan has a lot of earthquakes recently, and you know, the first one was a big one. You were pretty shaken, and now when the small ones, you're just like, okay, there was an earthquake, and then we move on, because you have opened yourself that this is what is happening in this country, and that's part of it, and that's part of the thing that you cannot control. Like, one of the things that I really appreciate about Japan and Taiwan regarding that is, even at primary school, even at like kindergarten nearly, they will teach the children how to react. So the children, when they grow up, they're like, oh, it's an earthquake. Okay, we know what to do. Done. It's natural. For us, when we arrive in the country, it's like, oh,
I never got that training before.
yeah, what is that? And then you start to look at the people around you, because you start to be open about, you know, how things work and how the country work, and in that transition, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is what I need to do. Fine.
Yeah.
And the fear also disappear a lot. Not completely, because when there is big one, it's still something to be afraid of. But even in other things, the fear of speaking to people, the fear of approaching people, decrease quite a lot. As you said, when you're starting removing that shield of the badge that you had, well, FYI, she looks like a South Taiwanese. So a lot of people think she's local. And we have a lot of funny story where I am the one speaking Chinese and they're still looking at her and trying to reply with her in Chinese, where she's like, I don't understand what you're saying. Please don't speak to me. Speak to my husband. And so when you started that, you also started gaining interaction. Like, for example, the Indonesian girl that also live in that building, because it's one step and then another one. And then we were at an event last week where you met another Taiwanese woman, new friend. So, you know, and I was telling you that for months, that, you know, you just need to open yourself. But it's not that easy. But yes, if you looking at transition and freedom, you can't lock yourself into who you are. It doesn't work.
Yeah. And it's always come to me as an aha moment about one quote, like, remove the illusion that it could have been different.
Oh yeah, I love this one.
That exactly, it's something we always part of us always imagining what if this, what if that, and things are not going your way, like things sometimes outside your control, and you need to stop pretending that, you know, it's different from what it is, you know, in a reality. And when you detach yourself from that reality in your mind and start looking at the reality that is in, then you start, okay, I'm the one that need to adjust. You know, I can still take control in some, you know, certain level, and then I can start doing things that is necessary for making that transition, rather than waiting for things to happen. Like when you say, like, I'm super introvert, I'm not comfortable meeting new people, but then I realized Taiwanese is amazing. Some of them, of course, like, still feel awkward to speak English with me, and they think they don't speak English sometimes. Like it's okay, we can just, you know, smile to each other and just open up to conversation. And I think that's changed the way we approach things in this transition of life. I feel I'm still doing what I can do the best. I still find it struggling here and there, but I am more open up into a new experience that I could have right now, instead of thinking like, if only we are in Indonesia, I will, you know, ordering ABCD food. I can have massage in my home, you know that all the comfortness that we have in Indonesia, we don't have it here. I stopped doing that, and I stopped living in that dream and expectation, putting it away and start living in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a good part of freedom also, is living in the moment. Okay, we're arriving at the end of the podcast.
That feels very fast.
Yeah, it feels very fast.
We speak too fast.
You speak a lot and I listen a lot.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So if you had to summarize freedom in transition for you, what would it be?
It's the ability to letting go who you were, to welcoming the new you, and open up yourself to a lot of possibilities that is coming with a new life.
Okay. I would say for me, one of the things that is missing is you have to gain the ability to be uncomfortable.
Ouch.
Yeah. You have to be able to be uncomfortable because you're not going to grow in comfort, and you're not going to create a successful transition if you want to stay in your comfort zone. It won't work.
So it has to happen.
It has to happen. Sometimes
Keep
you don't.
swimming, keep swimming.
Yeah, sometimes you have to not let yourself the choice of, failing. If you let your plan B, you generally are going to take the plan B because it's easier and more comfortable.
Okay.
So on those words, I wish you everyone a beautiful day.